Update Monday! What's going on with you guys? TheCaliEffect, king of games here, and it has been 11 weeks of kicking rheumatoid arthritis' ass. I don't know about you guys, but if you've been getting your ass whooped for 11 weeks straight, then maybe you should leave. This is like a domestic situation. Charges need to be filed because of boy, yeah, it's not looking good for you, RA. I owe kicking this disease's ass to 3 things: persistence, patience, and of course drunkenness, and then of course my doctor, my coach, and Sabrina. She's awesome. Now, speaking of such, to give you guys an update on what exactly has happened to Sabrina, she actually had her surgery now. Just about 5 minutes ago, the nurse not only decided to dial up my phone number, she decided to tell me that her surgery was 100% successful. Now, the interesting thing about this surgery is that she'll be down for 3 days inside of the hospital. I've been fending for myself inside of the wild, trying to find, what's that nourishment called? Food again? And it's definitely been an adventure. One thing that has definitely been an adventure for us is going through the Dawn of Majesty set. And in this video, this is pretty much going to be the conclusion. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I'm going to be going over the top cards that you guys need from the Dawn of Majesty set. This will be concluded by me going over the entire set on Twitch, so make sure if you haven't been there that you check out my Twitch. I do some crazy things like remote duels when we can. We actually even have a tournament, and I hate to say it because it's cringy as hell, but I have a dope ass fan fiction. So yeah, my Twitch is pretty dope, but if you want to see more PG Cali and YouTube content, then be sure to destroy that subscribe button, but also be sure to hit that notification bell, not only for me and Sabrina, but because we just too strong. So without further ado, let's jump on in and start talking about these cards that you need from the Dawn of Majesty set. So the first card I want to talk to you guys about is fairly obvious. We gotta go to a card that's more Bay than Ray. That's right, this card is more Bayful than Rayful. This is actually the Dhamma Mama in the Iris Sword Soul, a level 8 secret rare with 2500 attack and defense, just like Dogmatica Floor Delete. I wish you guys knew about how much I had to cut out on that particular video. I had to restrain myself because she is the Dhamma Mama. What the Iris Sword Soul does is during the main phase, if a monster whose effects are negated is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If your opponent special summons a monster except during the damage step, you can activate one of these effects based on where it was special summoned from. If it were special summoned from the hand, you can special summon one monster from your hand. If a monster was special summoned from the deck, you get to draw 2 cards. And then from the extra deck, destroy one monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Of course, you can only use each effect of the Iris Sword Soul once per turn. Now, the most interesting thing about Dhamma Mama is exactly where should she be price-wise. I'm not 100% sure if this was a card that players will be playing now, and if they are, how many? I have way too many questions for this particular card, but seeing that it is one of the strongest cards in the set, I have to say that it will be around $60 when the dust settles. Moving forward, since we've already talked about the most probable sought-after monster, I think it would only be fair to talk about the most probable sought-after spell card. Retort Fusion is an instant fusion retrain that seems to be a lot worse, but yeah, it's just worse. There's no way around it. What the Instant Noodle packet does is that you can pay 1000 life points, special summon one level 6 or lower non-effect fusion monster from your extra deck, but it cannot attack, also destroy it during your end phase. This is treated as a fusion summon, and you can only activate one ready fusion once per turn. Now, immediately off the top of my mind, I thought about some really powerful cards you can summon. Monsters like Flame Swordsman and Sandwich. Those cards they're not good. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree because I'm gonna break Flame Swordsman and Sandwich. Think about it, guys. Sandwich, Hungry Hamburger, Fusion Support, Ritual Support. You're not big braining it yet. There is no clear-cut use for this card, but it's definitely a card that will be needed in the future. I can see Retort Fusion being an $80 spell card just because it looks like instant fusion. But if players don't immediately find a use for it, this card can be as low as $25 a copy. Get this card at your own risk right now. Now that we're done talking about some of the most sought after cards compared to the highest rarity, we can talk about some other cards inside of this set that you probably should be looking at. The B-Trooper archetype is another TCG exclusive archetype that just so happens to not look as bad as Warrock and actually has more promise than mutants. Now, B-Trooper Sting Lancer is a level 7 insect wind monster with 2400 attack and 1800 defense. And I have to say that this card's effects are the bee's knees, cause it's a bee. Well, hey, I'm not talking about kill a bee at least. Fool. Ya fool? What Sting Lancer does is during the main phase, you can target one insect monster in your graveyard and one monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, place the targeted monsters to the bottom of the decks. If this card is normal summon or special summon, you can add one B-Trooper spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Of course, you can only use each effect of B-Trooper Sting Lancer once per turn. Now, at first sight, you probably can disregard B-Trooper Sting Lancer because it requires you to put insect cards back into your deck. But at second glance, this card is a lot better than what people think. The first thing is that this card is a quick effect. It can activate its effects on either player's turn. That is amazing. Being able to special summon a level 7 monster to your side of the field seems to be the trend. Remember Fantastical Dragon Phantasme and Arlecchino? Yeah, those two cards are level 7 too. Sting Lancer also gets the chance to be a pseudo DD Crow. Not only that, if we get 2 more sets of B-Trooper support, it only takes 1 busted B-Trooper spell card to make this card completely bananas. Now, Sting Lancer is an ultra rare and is fairly specific. I really don't see this card being more than $3. But depending on how the Insector support or the B-Trooper archetype goes, this card can be a mainstay for not only insect decks, for B-Trooper decks in total. So you could probably say that you might want to gather the troops on this card, or it may sting a little bit later. Now, out of the entire set for generic cards that can be played in just about any given deck, the Exceed portion just might have to steal the show. One of the most powerful cards inside of the Dawn of Majesty set is Chronomely Vanana. Now, Chronomely Vanana. God, it's so hard to say this card. Chronomely Vanana is a rank 5 light machine monster with 2300 attack and 2600 defense, and this card is probably the most ready-made card out of the entire set. What Vanana does is that once per turn, you can target one face-up monster on the field and one Exceed monster or Chronomely monster in your graveyard. That monster gains attack to half of that monster's attack in the graveyard until the end of this turn, then attach that monster from the graveyard to this card's material. Now, that effect is pretty good as it does set you up for the second effect, and boy, it's tragic. What the second effect of Vanana does is once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card and negate the activation. Now, there's one thing I want to point out about Vanana is that it does not specify a specific area. The monster effect can be from the hand, it can be from the field, it can be from the graveyard, it can be 5 tables down, it doesn't matter. Detach 2 materials, negate the card. And as long as you have Exceed monsters in your graveyard, you can keep on attaching Exceed materials to Vanana. This card is kind of ridiculous. Chronomely Vanana is an ultra rare from this set, and I can see it being a $10 Yu-Gi-Oh card, depending on a competitive deck actually being able to take full advantage of this card. Crazily enough, another Exceed monster is a godsend inside of this set, and it just so happens to be a rank 7. Valenfernijus, the Darkish Dragon Doom Rider. I am so confident I'm not saying this card's name right, but who cares? It is a rank 7 Dark Dragon monster with 2500 attack, 2100 defense, and it has a pretty good effect. What this card does is once per turn, you can detach 2 materials from this card, then target one face-up card on the field, destroy it. And if you destroyed a monster, you can make one face-up monster you control gain attack equal to the destroyed monster's level or rank times 300 until the end of the next turn. This card cannot attack the turn you activate the effect. This is a quick effect if it has a dragon monstrous Exceed material, but cannot be activated in the damage stat. Now, the Doom Rider is very specific. Hold on, that sounds like a wrestling name or something. The Doom Rider! Yeah, that's definitely a wrestling name. But if you just so happen to use Fantastical Dragon Phantasme and Arlecchino to make this card, I mean, not only was it free, it's a quick effect. I don't see this card necessarily being worth much, seeing that it's a super rare and you should get plenty of them, but it is a card I feel that you should look out for because rank 7s do kind of struggle. And the last card you guys should be looking out for in this set is probably the best archetype that was introduced. The Despia strategy is a malleable archetype that can play into strategies like Dark Lord and even Shadol. It's also fairly generic when it comes to fusion summoning and is a part of the Dogmatica lore. Alubur, the Jester of Despia, is a card that the strategy is centered around, and it's a pretty good monster. It's a level 4 Dark Fairy monster with 1800 attack and 0 defense, and its effect reads, if this card is normal summon or special summon, you can add one branded spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. If a face-up fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls. Special summon this card, and if you do, negate the targeted monster's effects until the end of the turn. Of course, you can only use one Alubur, Jester of Despia once per turn, and only once that turn. Now, there is something that I have to clear up for the glue eaters out there. Some players have been complaining that because Alubur was mistranslated on certain copies of the card, that it'd only be able to add Despia spell and trap cards and not branded. That's not how printing works. In this particular situation, Alubur will act exactly like its OCG counterpart, regardless of what it says on its card text. It was a complete mistranslation to write Despia instead of branded in the card's text. I should not have to explain this to you guys, but people are acting like it's the end of the world. But let them play a pre-errata original Necro Valley and no one bats an eye. It doesn't make any sense. Alubur is the main card that you need for the Despia strategy, and this deck is projected to be one of the top meta decks. On top of that, Alubur is confirmed as a secret rare, and you're going to need 3 copies if you want to play the most competitive Despia deck. With that being said, I can see Alubur's being $80 per copy and being the main chase card for the entire set. Now, of course, this does hinge on Despia's playability, but I mean, have you read Despia cards? Well, that is pretty much all that I have for today's video. If you guys think that I snubbed some of your favorite cards from Dawn of Majesty, make sure to post down below in the comment section. Also, be sure to check out these videos as they're pretty awesome. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.